Hi, welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. Well, what are we looking at here? You're looking at an LBC Balikbayan box. And there's all the details that you need to be able to go www.lbcexpress.com. And no matter where you are, you can go to that site and you can find out, I think, where the nearest outlet would be for LBC. And if not, maybe you can find some other. So now what I'm going to try to do is to go through what's involved in making up a Balikbayan box. Well, first of all, decide how much stuff you want to send, because the weight doesn't matter. In a Balikbayan box, the weight doesn't matter. Now, can I tell you the price? No, I can't, because I've never sent an LBC Balikbayan box. I've only received them while I've been here, so I can't give you that information. So, as I always try to say, go to the source. Don't listen to anybody giving you anecdotal information of, oh well, yeah, I think it just costs this and just costs that. It doesn't go by weight, it goes by the size of the box. Okay, and you can get quite small boxes that are down around this size, or you can go up to this size, 2 feet by 2 feet by 2 feet. You can go up to that size, or you can go up to this size. Actually, we've had a box that was made up of 2 of these boxes taped together. That was the biggest box we've ever seen. Now, let's get back on to putting this camera down. Alright, so it's where it usually is now. And let me give you some tips from the professionals in sending boxes. That's Mr. and Mrs. O, Mr. and Mrs. Bean, and several other people who are incredibly expert at sending boxes. Now, most people put the hard things in there, and then around them they stuff t-shirts, towels, stuff like that. Now, what Mrs. O told me, and I believe that she is probably the most expert on boxes that I've ever met since I came here. Now, she actually invites her friends to put in an item or two if they wish. And she invites her friends if, when they're going around the Goodwill stores in America, I don't know what they call them in other countries, but I'm sure that they have them there, she invites them to watch out for sellout times. That's when they'll suddenly decide that they're going to have a clear out of all stock, and every t-shirt is 50 cents, and so people can go in and just for a few dollars they can make an absolute killing in good gently worn clothing. In fact, some of the clothing that I saw when I was in California was actually new. If somebody had put a load of shirts for their company, and they put the ABC company, and then that size was not popular, they might end up giving 20 or 30 or 40 polo shirts in absolutely brand new condition. So you can get all kinds of stuff. Now, the thing about a Balikbayan box, we've said this before on many occasions, is there's something magical for Filipino kids especially. There's something magical about opening a box that's come from a long way away. Places like America that they've only ever dreamed of going, and the UK and Australia and Germany. All of these places are just names to them. And then a box comes and the address is America, United Kingdom, Australia. And there's something that is special about that. I mean, there's something special about Father Christmas, isn't there? Do you think that a child is so stupid that if they go to a store and they sit on the knee of somebody who's got a cotton wool white beard on, that they're being fooled? No, they go for the magic of the moment. Now, once you have gotten onto Mrs. O's technique of inviting participants, right, you can invite members of your family to get together. If you've got 3 children, give them a little chore. send them to the Goodwill store, send them to their closet, send them to where they can find some little article of clothing. Never worry about size when you're sending anything, because in our little community, our little congregation of children in the church alone, we have at sometimes probably 120 children of all shapes and sizes and ages. Send it. We can find a home for it. Now, yes, you can buy stuff here. You could send money. Somebody has said, and very wisely, they've said, well, instead of spending $80 or $90 or $100 on some articles, or sending some articles, why don't you just send the money? Well, for the reason that I've just said, there's something magical, not just about children receiving a box here. There's something that occurs in the mind of someone who actually makes an effort, puts together gifts, and then later, and you cannot discount this, even though we are often accused of, well, you should do everything quietly and anonymously, and nobody should ever see anything that you do, and you should just be doing kindnesses. You have to spread the goodwill. You have to spread the images of kindness being done. You have to see it happening, because most people deal on images. That's why you have movies. Now, what you can do is what Mr. and Mrs. O do this so incredibly well. They can get 100 items, 100 t-shirts, and what they do is they put them into one of those, I don't know what the correct term is, but it's like a vacuum pack plastic container, and they put them in there, and the parcel probably is about 4 feet by 4 feet by 4 feet for all I know, and they squeeze all of these things into this plastic bag, and then they zip it up and it's airtight, and then on the made up nozzle, the custom made nozzle, which is, I don't know, kind of looks probably like this, they take the cap off and they put a vacuum cleaner on, and they put the vacuum cleaner on suck, and it sucks every little tiny bit of air out of that bag, and in doing so it sucks all the air out of the clothing itself. So what started off possibly as 4-foot cube of clothes ends up a 2-foot bag that's about 6 or 7 inches thick. So heaven forbid that anybody out there should be a customs officer going to look into a Mr. and Mrs. O box. Good luck on that, because you'll never get it all back in again. It's impossible. So in doing that, over a month or 6 weeks, Mr. and Mrs. O gather their friends and family, and they put together a box which defies gravity. And I am instructed as an old fart not to try to lift any box that has been sent by Mr. and Mrs. O. And my back confirms that this is a very wise move. Now, what do you send? Imagine if your kids had never received a Christmas present. Just imagine that. There are people here who are so poor that they haven't actually received a present. What do they do for Christmas? Well, in the born-again family of which I am now a member, before we came and there was little money around, they used to have food, and they would make spaghetti for Christmas. I know it sounds funny, but it's same planet but a different world. And they would have spaghetti, and the spaghetti doesn't taste like your Uncle Luigi's spaghetti, okay? It's sweet, and it has chopped up hot dogs. So they have that, and they have fruit salad, And the fruit salad is not the same either. So things are different. Opening presents is another thing. What they do in church on Sunday, the Sunday by Christmas, is that they each have a tiny gift. Look, this is a little tiny pack of candy. If that's all that you can afford, that's what you get. Maybe a couple of pesos. And a lot of children would think themselves very lucky if they had a couple of pesos. They're on a dirt floor. They put a mat down on the floor when they go to sleep at night. And if they're lucky, it doesn't rain. I'm not doing this as a look how hard it is, because these are some of the happiest, most joyful kids that I've ever seen. Now, as far as sharing goes, the Karate family have just been a perfect lesson in what to do in their way, not everybody's way. They don't do a box the same as Mrs. O does or Mrs. Bean. They have their own style. And what they did was they made up a load of smaller boxes. Look at the video. Now, for those people who come in and they've just watched one video, they watch one video and it just, as luck would happen, Murphy is alive and well. They choose the video that shows no children in our own family get a single thing. Why? Because the box that's sent is supposed to be shared in the community. Now, do our children cry about that? No, they don't, because they've had so much given to them over the last 18 months. Believe me, they have been spoiled to death. Talik Lick has had almost the entire wardrobe, almost the entire smaller wardrobe of Christine Tintin. And she sent the most beautiful dresses. She sent the most beautiful wardrobe of dresses, especially for Beth. If you had looked in on that particular one, you would have said, well, why is Beth being so selfish? Because her name was on all of the dresses. And whatever she does with them later is her business. And believe me, they're not all in a closet somewhere in our house. She shares out, and that's why you see Beth so often in the same dresses, because she doesn't have a huge wardrobe in spite of how many she has been given over the last 18 months. The same with Talik Lick.
Yeah, because I share out.
It's a share out. I just heard a voice, a ghostly voice there.
I give some of mine.
What? Can you either?
I give some of my clothes out to the one that I think that needed most without camera.
So, if you come in and you see one video, you can't possibly know the stories. I get people who come in and they say, what's happening with Nisa? Can you go there and give her some medication? Can you go there? How can... Look at all of the videos on the subject that interests you and see the entire story. Some people have come in and they've seen one video that shows the baby Faith. And they say, well, she needs this, she needs that, she must have an operation for that. Look at all of the videos so that you know the story, and then probably you might change the comment that you make. Certainly, the person that has been so active today, person or persons, 2 or 3 people today, who have launched in attacking Beth for being selfish and cruel. Amazing to me that anybody in the entire world should be called selfish and cruel. Because Beth spends, as I do, spends 24/7 trying to help those people who we know are so less fortunate than the rest of us. That's why we build houses. That's why we get people to hospital in the middle of the night. That's why we do what we do, because we love our job. We're not saying it's easy, and it's not for everybody. But don't judge what you see of any of our projects on the basis of one video. look at all of the videos. And if you want to know how much a house costs, look at the videos. We're getting to the point now, we will soon, believe me, we will soon be at 40,000 subscribers. It's not very far away. We are about to be, is it 34,000, Beth, now? Beth?
4,660.
So we're
660.
So right now we're 34,660, and by tomorrow morning we will be one more up, and then in just a few weeks we will be at 40,000, and that's not going to be the end, because it's going to be exponential. So I may touch on this as well and say that if it is that you feel a little bit neglected, just understand that we're doing the best we can. We're trying to do what we actually do, and that is make videos, find stories, meet people who are in need, show you kids having a great time going to a store, choosing a dress for the first time in their lives, choosing their own dress. Can you imagine a kid from a dirt floor house? I keep saying dirt floor house because so many of them come from a dirt floor house. Can you imagine that child trying to process, standing in a store, and they're trying to process that they've been told you have 400 pesos to spend. Now, go and look at the dresses and find one that is 400 or less. And what they do is they go off and they spend some time in confusion. I mean, how the heck does a 6-year-old go and choose a dress? Well, there's lots of really willing, smiling salespeople, and they help them, and they help them happily, because believe me, the last time that we went to Alturas with some kids, it was some 52 kids. And the sales staff there know us very well because we've been in before, and all that ever happens is there's only one thing that changes, and that's the number of kids. It started off with, I think, 17, but I could be wrong. Believe me, the numbers get away from you. 17. It went up, it was 23 or 27. It went up, and then our record for a while was 43. And then the last time that we went, which is fairly recent, a few weeks ago, it was 52. When we take children for their first swimming experience in a pool, in a resort, in a pool. Fancy thing for a child as a first experience. And we would take them swimming, and we would take 30, 40, maybe 50 children there, with plenty of adults, some mothers. The staff at the resort would be there to make sure. I would be there, Beth would be there, aunts, lovely May, other friends of ours would come along, and we'd make it a big celebration. The last time was Beth's birthday. Beth, how many children did we have on your birthday? Beth?
40?
What?
40?
40?
Yeah, I think so.
40. It was a small party. So, I guess I thought I was starting to talk on this video about how to do a Balikbayan box, and we've done that, and I've given you some tips. The only thing I didn't say about that was, where do you find these places? Well, you have the internet. You can Google it. You can Google shipping. Google the word Balikbayan, right? B-A-L-I-K, B-A-Y-E-N, Balikbayan. Look at the video. There's the box. There's one company that does it. There's another one called Globe, but you saw that on the video. Find a Filipino and ask, just say the word Balikbayan box, and they will tell you everything that you need to know, because every overseas Filipino worker is probably sending Balikbayan boxes home. That's what they do. They share their blessings. So this, I may mention a lady that recently prompted this, and that is Miss Katie. And Katie has 3 children, and she wrote to me and she said, I would like to become part of that and do it. Katie, thank you for writing. I know that I promised that I would write to you last night, but I thought maybe a video would be better. And for you and your 3 children, tell us their names, and when we acknowledge you, we will say their names as well, with our thanks. And what you send, anything you want. We get huge surprises. If you watch the video, and this is a good lesson, and I'll finish off with this. This is a good lesson in how other children react when they're watching one child who has been singled out for special treatment by a subscriber. Okay? Not by us, by a subscriber. And the Karate family were touched by a young man called Boyet. And Boyet is blind in one eye. And he has this $1 million smile. And the Karate family made up a box just full of stuff. What kind of stuff? All kinds of stuff. A wristwatch. Do you have any idea what that would have meant to a little boy like Boyet? Now, when Boyet was opening his gifts, there were no gifts for anybody else. But he was surrounded by Baby Jane and Gretchen and the other kids in that little community. About, if I remember rightly, usually about 5 or 6 little girls, around 6, sometimes younger, 4, 5, 6. And none of them got petulant or pouting because, well, where's my gift? No, there was none of that. They absolutely were joyful watching Boyet get his gifts. And it was Boyet's day and Boyet's package. And someone even said, well, why don't they open their own presents? Because we have a video to make. The boy will be overwhelmed. And so Beth unpacks the things and she gives it to him one by one. And that's how he gets to see it. In a new moment when actually he's probably overwhelmed. Now, if you watch that about Boyet, watch what happens when all of those gifts come out. But what happens when he gets a pair of sunglasses? And he puts the sunglasses on, and all of those little girls all cheer. Very touching moment for me. All of these are very touching moments. Thank you for listening. This is a foreigner in the Philippines. Try to understand that not everybody can show gratitude in the same way as someone who is quite accustomed to being given gifts. They open their gifts and say, oh wow, this is great, yeah, look at me, I'm just delighted. No, if you're absolutely stunned by what is happening, it's not going to be the same. Later, you may actually feel differently and express and show it on your face. But right in the moment, it will be all you can do to not cry. Look at the face of the crying lady and look at how hard it is for her not to cry with joy. So, I've gone on again, haven't I? I've said goodbye and then I've gone on again. I'm sorry about that. Well, I'm not sorry actually. Oh God, I'm about to go on again. This is a foreigner in the Philippines and we're going out today to give away. Bye for now.